Hey there, Phoenixes. Hello, hello. Daniella here from Redesign Your Life Forever. And welcome to my day 18 of the 30-day video challenge. Holy shimolies, we are well over halfway through, and it has been an absolute fun blast to come to you with all of these different topics. Now, when the number one, struggles for us, and I mean me and everybody I've ever worked with, even masters and mentors and coaches and everybody, where there is one thing that is, hey lovelies, there's one thing that really has got to take the cake when it comes to something that's really, really important to remember through our journey, because there are going to be ups and there are going to be downs, and there are going to be some miraculous manifestations and some miraculous synchronicities that you're going to see. And you know, there's, hey Miss Sherry, how you doing, love? And there's going to be times where shit just goes wrong. I mean, it's life, you know. And so in those moments, you know, whether we feel like we failed or we feel like we've missed an opportunity, these are all times to take a moment and do your best to remember who you are. And as my post earlier mentioned, I found that really, really sweet picture with the fabulous Egyptian gods, and that bit that says, you know, if you are still prescribing to a religion or a race or a background or a history or a story of who you think you are, you still aren't recognizing who you really are, or shall we say what you really are. And that ultimately is a multidimensional energetic force. We are vibration. We are consciousness that has taken physical form. So anytime that life kind of throws that curveball, just remember that this is a ride, okay? You know, some of us are here, we've got trapped in the karma wheel, or we got trapped in the reincarnation wheel, you know, we just keep on coming back and keep on keeping on. You know, and we'd rather be somewhere else. I don't know if that's anybody else, but I've definitely had the feeling of like, take me home, Lord. But, you know, that aside, it's so important to remember the fact that this is a ride, that life is a game, that life, ultimately, who we are is not going anywhere, as far as there is no end to what we really are. So if things go wrong, it's just a little bump in the roller coaster, okay? And whenever you can try to remind yourself of that, that is going to immediately bring your energetic vibration back up. And it may not skyrocket up to the sky. Of course, you know, it's like you had a really shitty day, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm totally a multi-dimensional being. That's right. Oh yeah, Daniella told me to remind myself that I'm a multi-dimensional being. You know, it's not necessarily going to, you know, take you into the ether just to remember that. But if you can, remember that you are having an experience. So sometimes the shitty stuff, is part of the experience. And much like riding on a ride or playing a game or, you know, anything, either playing, you know, cards with a friend or anything, there's going to be those shock moments, those, you know, and when we can handle them in a more balanced way and handle them by remembering, it's like, oh, okay, that's right, we're on a ride, you know, we're here doing the thing, we're incarnate, you know, everything's cool. Technically, I'm not going anywhere. You know, and particularly if in those moments you can remind yourself that you still have your breath, like physically that you still have your breath. Okay, everything's okay, I'm still here, it's okay, you know, nothing catastrophic, you know, in that sense has happened. But even if those catastrophic things do happen, which unfortunately sometimes they do, and a lot of times they can be out of our control. Sometimes they do have to do with things that we have brought on and manifested for ourselves, you know, using our co-creative manifestation powers. But sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're a curveball that's thrown at us from somebody else's karma, you know, that they have to deal with, but we're having to deal with it too. When you can remind yourself that it's all just in fun, then it really, really can help you through those tough times. And, you know, even today, you know, I was at my side hustle, running around, and my car up underneath, that little plastic bit that's up underneath, it had come loose. It had broken off, like it had caught on one of those little parking speed bump parking things. You know what I'm talking about, guys. And it had pulled the damn thing off. So I had to get up under my car in the middle of broad daylight. As embarrassing as that was. and fix it. And I had to laugh about it because it's an experience. It's a ride. What is Miss Sherry saying? She says, for sure, love your positive vibe. It's hard to get out of the funk when you're stuck in a rut, but I chalk it up to a learning experience. Yes, getting yourself out of that rut is a whole learning experience, because once you've gotten the hang of it, once you can get your emergency, naysayer kit going, or your emergency get out of a funk kit going, which can be music, which can be a favorite comedy movie, or stand-up, which can be, playing with your pets, or giving yourself tea time, or, whatever your emergency kit is. When you can figure that out, you've made a huge leap forward, because then anytime that you get stuck in that rut, anytime you get that funk going on, you can remind yourself that, A, this is a game. Remember who you are, Simba. You are a multidimensional, situation going on here, having an experience. But then every time you go through that funk, it shortens the amount of period that you have to go through that funk before you can snap yourself out of it and go, oh yeah, that's right. It's all a game. It's all cool. I'm just going to keep it on over here. Doing something that I enjoy doing, or something that will make me happy, or whatever. And again, sometimes we have to do shitty things that we don't really want to do. And when we can pull ourselves out of that funk, that is one of the most powerful things that we can learn to do for ourselves, is to get out of whatever it takes for you. Because what it takes for me is going to be different for what it takes for you. And that's one of the things that I love helping people find, is what it takes for them to get out of a funk, I remember way back in the day, one of my best girlfriends, she was having a panic attack, a serious, not only physical but mental panic attack, and I don't know, I was just divinely guided. All of a sudden, speaking of Simba, I, kind of jumped in front of her and I was like, hey, do you want me to dress in drag and do a hula? And and I started singing the song from The Lion King that Simone and Pumbaa do, and it immediately brought her out of that. So for her, it was that funny kind of, me being silly thing, which I was so grateful that I could be there for her in that moment. Thank you, Miss Colette. How you doing, baby? And that is what I want you to be able to do for yourself. So remember who you are. This is just a test. This is just a game. People end up taking life way too seriously. Way, 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 way too seriously. And I count myself among those that were totally guilty of doing that for a very, very long time, because, we feel like, oh, we've got the bills and we've got to do the stuff with the kids and we take life way too seriously, Phoenixes. Way too seriously. So when you can remember that we're here to essentially that we're here to explore and have a good time and, figure out some shit that we may not have figured out in a past life, whatever your journey is, that it's meant to, for the most part, be enjoyable and be something where we can go, I get it now, haha, that's funny, and move on. Move on to the next thing. So anytime you get those feelings of being in a funk, grab yourself an emergency kit go ahead, make yourself an emergency kit. Remind yourself who you are. If it's a meditation, if it's a comedy, if it's doing your nails, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is for you, that's what's going to work for you. And that's what I am here to do, to encourage you to find what works for you, to share with you all the different kinds of things that I have run across and have worked for me and worked for other people. And one of those things is to just take a moment and kind of snap yourself out of it. And sometimes I actually do this to myself. Like if I'm starting to get into a funk, I'll actually kind of snap, and that a little bit of concussive sound kind of brings my attention to it. And so it pulls me out of that funky thought for that moment and allows me to go, oh wait, that's right. I'm an infinite being. I can choose what I want to think in this moment right now, and I'm not going to be thinking that. And all of these things, as you start to hear now, are tying together. So you are an infinite being. You have control over how you feel and how you think about your experience. And yes, there are some crazy things that happen to us, but we have the choice of being able to pull ourselves out of that feeling. You know, let it be there for a while. If you gotta let it be there for a while, because I understand that all too well too. But eventually, that feeling is gonna be holding you hostage. So remember who you are. Remember that you are an infinite being having a physical experience, and that is what it's about. So that once you can remember that, you go, oh, okay, that's right. I have the choice. I have the choice. I with a big I, not I, little me, I, like, what can I do? You know, I'm just little old me, what can I do? That is not who you are. In the slightest. You are an infinite being having a physical experience, and so these tools are here to help you recognize that and remember that and be able to take back your power. For lack of a better word, take it back, because it was always yours to begin with. It was always mine to begin with. We are the creator incarnate. There's nothing else to it. The trees are the creator incarnate. This house is the creator incarnate. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have no choice but to be creators. And so we can create what we choose to think and what we choose to feel. It's all a matter of just breaking through that subliminal programming, breaking through that fear, breaking through, because that's mainly what's keeping us stuck, by the way, Phoenix is. Anything that's keeping you in a funk, it's the fear. And I could say that wholeheartedly from personal experience that it is, hey, Miss Julia, haven't seen you in a long time, babe, good to see you. It's all fear, you know, whether it's fear of failure in the future, fear of a missed opportunity in the past, you know, the three sisters of regret, shoulda, coulda, and woulda. These things all plague on our mind, and these are the things that are holding us hostage, our feelings and our thoughts that are attached to those fears that, for the most part, I mean, they're just made up. Because if you're an infinite being, there's nothing to be afraid of. Really. Because, I mean, yes, okay, granted, you know, I can hear you out there. It's like, well, what if I get in a car accident? That's a big deal. It's like, yeah, okay, physically that's a big deal. But, you know, you have people that go through car accidents. You have people that go through cancer. You have people that go through heinously, tremendously terrible things. And yet, still somehow, they, quote-unquote, keep the faith. Do you know what I'm saying? We hear about these stories all the time. They make a conscious choice not to feel bad for themselves. They make a conscious choice that they're going to get healthy again. They are making conscious choices, not even probably realizing that they are co-creators of the reality that we are all participating in. But they are making conscious choices to keep their head up and to keep trying their best, which is all anybody can ever ask of anybody, is that you continue to try to do your best with the tools that you have at your disposal at the time. Does that mean that you could be doing better than you were yesterday? Sure. But does that necessarily mean that tomorrow is going to be shitty if you don't live up to the same exact thing that you did today? No. There are things, there are energetics, all of these things are coming into play. But how you feel about you and how you feel about your circumstances is entirely up to you. It can be up to you. And we've just been tricked into believing that it's not up to us, that it's up to somebody else, somebody higher than us, that ought to be telling us how we feel about X, Y, and Z. When none of that is the truth. The truth is, you have the conscious power of decision, and that is an ultimate power. You can decide. You can just up and decide. I mean, will it take a few months possibly to follow through with your thoughts and feelings and continue to work on that? Sure. Can it happen within a few days, within a few weeks? I've seen it happen, you know, for certain things. I've certainly seen it happen. But it's just up to you, individually, every single one of you, to realize what you are. And that as what you are, you have the divine, conscious gift of choice. That is the first That is the first distortion that is like rules our whole universe, is that we have choice. We can choose what we think when we can catch it. How we feel when we can catch it. So when you can start to catch it and you feel like you're getting in the doldrums and you're feeling like, you're a failure and that, all of these things, they start piling up on each other, you just go, no, you know what? I am a conscious creator here. I can choose how I feel about this. And I choose to feel or think differently. Because I have that power. You have that power. So start using that power, kids. My lovely phoenixes out there. I call you kids as if like half of you aren't older than me. But age ain't nothing but a number. But seriously, phoenixes, it's all about you. It's all about us individually going through our own process, finding what works for us, and making those conscious decisions to choose something different for ourselves, because we can. Nothing is really dictated to us. What we believe is being dictated to us is one thing, but what we're actually capable of is entirely different. So remember who you are, Simba. You are the king. Or queen. Actually, in this case, a lot of us are queens. Well, there might even be some guys that are out there that are queens too. I mean, that's just, we're not going to get into that. But honestly, remember who you are, Simba. And that will help you go through your phases. Because it's all just a dream. We are in the Matrix. It's all just a dream. So remember who you are. Decide for yourself how you want to think and how you want to feel. And that will actually start to change your life. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but I've lived it. And I've helped other people live it too. So that is what I am here for. If you're looking for that. Wonder Woman, bless you, Sherry. No Wonder Woman, just a lot of hard personal work. And taking it not too seriously. Because I take life way too seriously. But honestly, if that's what you're looking for, that is what I am here to help with. That is what I do every day, all the time. I help people get to be like how I am. I mean, I hate to say that, like how I am, but it's where you get to a place where you can feel like you can feel freely, where you can think freely and make those decisions for yourself. Is it going to work 100 million% of the time? No. Why? Because we live in a 3D universe where shit happens, okay? Growth. That's right. That's right, Miss Sherry. Growth. But it's all about growing that ability in yourself to when you get into those funk moments, because it's going to happen. Energetically, you're going to be low. It might be that time of the month. All of these factors come into, hormonals and all kinds of weirdness, right? But if you feel like you're in that funk and you can remember, it's like, nah, wait. I'm a multidimensional being having a physical experience. I can choose right now how I feel and think. I don't have to let this chain me for the rest of my life. That was a huge revelation for me, by the way. You don't have to let it chain you for the rest of your life. If I don't, you don't. Okay? So take that with you. Hold that tight. Know that you are a multidimensional being having a physical experience, and you can make the decision. Again, does that mean it's going to happen necessarily right away, immediately? No. But keep making the decision. The more decisions that you make for your own health and wellness and happiness and confidence and growth, the more it actually will happen. I promise. So that is my spiel for you tonight, this evening, lovelies. As always, it's so amazing to see you, Miss Sherry, Miss Julia, Miss Colette, everybody that came through. Thank you so much. And I will see you tomorrow evening for day 19. Woo! Getting on. Have a good night, y'all. And don't forget about Sunday's Coffee Talk. If you want to make sure that you get into the Zoom room for a Coffee Talk, where we're going to be talking about how to, like, some of my favorite techniques and signs and symbols of, being in contact with your higher self and your spirit guides, particularly because now it's All Hallows Eve and Samhain and, Night of the Dead and all of these wonderful things, where the veil is very thin. Now is a perfect time to be trying to get in contact with your higher self and your guides. And your ancestors, doing ancestral work. I'll probably touch on that. And anything else that you guys come up with in questions in the talk. So if you want to make sure that you get in on that, check out the events page for the Coffee Talk that's coming up this Sunday. Good night, girl. And I will see you then, because I'll see you tomorrow too. But there are instructions for how to download the Zoom and what to do, so that you can have that all set up for Sunday morning at 11:30 Eastern. All right, my lovelies, have a fabulous evening, and I love you all. I love you, mwah, and I will see you tomorrow.